So my full name is Jessica Ashley Osborn, and my pronouns are they, he, and she. My heritage, my mother's side is Ecuadorian, and my dad is American, or was American, from Boston, from up northeast. I have lived in Ecuador as a teenager and have visited pretty much every year. My favorite memory of Ecuador is going to a beach called Playas, which is basically means beach, like around 10 years old, around there, with my mom, my dad, and my brother, and basically having the beach to ourselves every time that we would visit. Warm water, really sunny, just playing in the sand, being with my family. Family means wanting to know one another, understanding everything about them, what makes them feel really good, what makes them feel loved, what's interesting to them. Like, that's what I want to know about my family, and that I would hope that they would want to know about me, that they would take interest in my interests a bit, and just be there for each other. For like the really tough times, of course, but also just the mundane, like when you're at home on a Sunday afternoon making a sandwich and you're just talking about the weather or whatever, feeling comfortable together, feeling at ease with one another. I have many, many interests, and the top priority one is Gender Chill, which is a gender justice fashion show that I produce. Basically, it was born because of my experience as a non-binary person. What would happen to me always is comments from some family members, from random strangers, from people in restrooms yelling at me to leave. And I wanted to, bring awareness and identify for those who are interested in how awesome and fabulous queer people can look and be. And why not do that on a runway in a fashion show? And so while we're having this fashion show, we're making sure to enumerate, to point out all the different shades of queer, gender queerness, sexual orientation queerness that exists, and that we're all one human, beautiful race, and we're all valid and we're fabulous while we do it. I identify as gender queer because it fluctuates sometimes. I would say I've actually done like this big ceremony with mushrooms with a shaman who is my friend to determine, like, am I transgender or not? And when I was in the middle of this really like crazy journey, he asked me that question, and it turns out I'm both. I feel squarely both what one might define as feminine and masculine energy. And the closest label that I can feel to that, which I'm happy to give or take, because the language always changes, is just like gender queer, because it fluctuates. I guess it depends on my like energy of the day, or what's happening, what needs to happen during the day, or just I guess how I'm feeling. And it just means that I'm more than one. And before I knew any of this like definition of anything, I just knew as a child. I just knew as a very young child, like looking up from my crib and having thoughts of like, I am different. And I don't know what that means, but we'll just march forward from here. And so for me, because I don't think that everybody would identify exactly the same, everybody has different degrees, but that's more or less like how I feel. I feel like 50-50. Yeah. And then, well, maybe sometimes even just nothing, just a human, right? Like, I would say gender can feel constricting as well. I don't want to think about it all the time, because I do think about it all the time. Yeah. I never leave my home without a pep talk to myself. I never leave without my phone. Gotta have my phone. It is such a great tool. And a smile on my face. I know that's corny. I would say the biggest challenge within the queer community today is the infighting within the queer community, because the really good and positive thing of that is that there is such a big group of us in this subgroup that are in even further subgroups. It's a good thing, because that's the whole point of, I think, just in general, like gay rights, gay movement, is that we are all different, but we're all the same. There's so many colors of the rainbow. There's so many degrees of what a person is, sexual orientation or gender identity. And so, unfortunately, that also just comes with different tribes, and we get comfortable in those tribes, and we could understand why. But I think it's also important to know other tribes, similar tribes, because literally there's infighting, and that was kind of a big piece of my coming of age, because I didn't realize that as a young adult, like 18, 21. I'm out here fighting for gay rights and working in all these organizations, and then starting to realize, like, we're all fighting for all the money, we're fighting for the fame, we're fighting for our own egos. I don't like you because you don't have this, vice versa. And it just seemed really odd and silly to me, for sure. So I think we could get a lot more done, um, more services, like daily services that someone might need, like housing or food or a name change, operation, surgeries for folks, or education. I think we could provide that more for each other if there was less of infighting, like, well, I'm this type of person and your problems don't, I don't have your problems, so I'm not going to focus on that. I think that is really dangerous. I think that just makes us all come down instead of, lifting all boats, rising tide, lifting all boats. That's how I prefer to think and work. I would like to see myself in 5 to 10 years really living into myself, as in just understanding myself more. The journey of like self-discovery and self-help has sort of just started for me at like middle 30s, and it's been great. It's been really tough, but I really needed it. I'm a trans person who has gone through a lot of childhood trauma, and I didn't even realize that it was affecting me the way that it was until you get older. So like early 30s, I was like, something's not right here, and so I'm having a good time right now figuring out what that's going to be. I could, I guess, say, again, because I have so many interests, I would really, really like to be my own version of Anthony Bourdain. I want to travel the world and film queer people and queer experiences. I've already traveled quite a bit, and put it all online, and maybe somebody will pick it up, and then I get to like run around and eat food with people, and I want to know their stories and their journeys as well. I also have Gender Chill, my fashion show. I also work with the Trans Social. I work with the Reflect Collective for sexually abused trans folks, youth, kids for high school and college. I want to continue to do all those things, but also see how I grow creatively, because I went from a political community activist working for big organizations like the Human Rights Campaign and Equality Florida, realizing that I needed a different outlet. So I'm still doing my queer activism, but I'm an artist. So I would like to have something more specific, but in time for sure, because right now the journey is, who am I? What I would tell my, what advice I would tell my 10-year-old self is to believe in myself. Um, it may not seem like you don't believe in yourself, but sometimes you do. A lot of doubts get in the way sometimes, and it confuses you, and it darkens your spirit and your day. It dampens you. But if you can come up with a way to say it as a mantra every day to yourself when you wake up, it'll make all the difference. And do it anyway. Whatever it is that you fear, do it anyway. That's the advice that I would give. With I hope to leave the world after I pass with love, empathy, compassion, and a sense of adventure. um, Life is so random, it is so bizarre, and there will be some tough moments, but there's so many beautiful miracles that I literally consider myself to see every day. You know, it's little things maybe, and there's bigger ones, but they do exist, and that, you know, gives me that hope. And so I hope that I can instill that type of hope in other folks, because I've been pretty low. I've definitely suffered from depression. I've definitely attempted to commit suicide a couple of times when I was much younger as a teenager, which is horrible. But what keeps me going is love and compassion and empathy and hope. And so that's what I continue to talk about: world peace and understanding with one another, in all the themes that I work on in all of my projects. So that's what I hope to leave with at least my family and friends, and if not the whole world, when I get to meet them.